Hello everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and in this video I'll show you my process for setting this garden bed up for our hot Phoenix summers and demonstrate how I make these passive watering pots. I'm getting some survival garden seeds in the ground, which you can see poking up already along the edges here, all cute and ready to grow. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Vegan Prepper, Vegan Prepper. Here's the beginning of the garden bed, kind of the before shot. And so my first order of business is to head over to Home Depot and get a few more pots and lids. I have one left that was in the middle of my potatoes, and I need to get 3 more 8-inch pots and lids to complete my little passive watering system grid here, and then I can get to planting.
We don't have a huge selection of summer stuff.
Getting terracotta pots and hot glue sticks. How much do you guys want to bet that nobody in that store knows what I'm doing? These are my pots I'm using for my passive watering system, using information from the book Gardening with Less Water by David A. Bainbridge. I will link that book down below. It's an excellent book. But basically the first step to getting these ready to go into the ground as your passive watering system is you need to plug this hole. I choose to do it with hot glue because that's just the equipment that I have on hand. And so basically I start off by putting a piece of parchment paper over the hole, and then you make a circle of hot glue that is bigger than the hole. And so that's just the first step. And once those are made, they set. Once they're set, we're ready for the next step. When your little hot glue plugs are set, you just peel them off your paper. Go ahead and get them down on top of the hole inside of your pot, and then you want to seal around the edges with hot glue, as I've done here. And once that is set, we're ready for the next step. So once the inner layer is fully set, you can go ahead and flip the pot over, because now we're going to be looking at the hole from the underside and filling in this. And so basically once you get to this part, what the goal is to fill in the seams, but start with only that outer edge. If you try to flood this entire thing with hot glue immediately, you'll melt the plug inside and end up with a big mess on your hand. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of gradually fill this in a little at a time. Probably actually anything, pardon me while I pick this up, probably anything beyond this is unnecessary because I filled in all the seams, but I do like to sort of go overboard just to make absolutely sure that it's really secure. So I do layer by layer, and then once that's finished, the pot itself, the pot itself will be finished and ready to go in the ground. My pots are ready. We're ready to head outside and get them into the ground, but let me share with you one of my favorite gardening concepts that seems to help me the most in my gardening in kind of extreme conditions in the Phoenix area and the desert southwest of the United States, with extreme temperatures in the summer, extreme dryness, and so just in general, but it's a concept that can apply to any climate, and that is to, as much as possible, allow or let plants solve your problems. So for me, for instance, like I said, I have extreme heat. And so one of the things that I kind of need for certain plants during the summer to help them survive is shade. And so I have one little area set up in my bed out there already applying this principle. And I thought I would go ahead and go show you that, but we're also going to go ahead and get those pots in the ground. This girl is very eager back here to go out and play while I'm doing that, and so I will show you that once we head out there. Here is the current example that I have ready to show you in my garden, where I have a kale plant here. I'm really hoping we'll make it through the summer. In fact, I hope all 3 of my kale plants make it, but this one is the one that I kind of expect to make it more than the others, because it's already got its nice little protected area around it with all of these Egyptian walking onions. And so these I've grown many times or for a while, and so I know that these take the heat very well, and so they are sort of set up like a little wall around this kale plant and will hopefully protect it throughout the harshest heat of the summer. And it's providing a little bit of that, like a microclimate right there. And so, yeah, basically what I'm going to do is, it's very simple. All you have to do is sort of dig a hole and get the pot in. And that's basically it. So I'm not going to film that part, but I'll go ahead and get the other 4 pots in here, and then we'll start preparing the soil for more planting. Okay, so we have dug all of the new pots in, and now it's just time to get everything filled and watered, and we'll go ahead and do that. It's the next morning, so here's the bed, and we got the pots in. You can see that the brand new pots are still keeping soil moist around them, but it's not, so there's like a little bit of dryness right here, but it's not as much as over here. So where these older ones, I think they sort of seep out a little bit better, so the soil stays wetter. And so over time, I believe these will start doing that same exact thing. But even brand new, they're really helping to keep the soil hydrated. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited for the possibilities this summer. But basically what I'm about to do is throw some worm castings on top of the soil as my kind of my soil amendment. And so once I've done that, I've put it on top, dug it in a little bit, I'm gonna mulch, and then consider this bed completely finished and ready for planting. All right, bed is now covered in worm castings, and we are getting ready to go ahead and put on the mulch. My husband's helping me with that. He's gonna fill the wheelbarrow with some of our mulch we have in another part of the yard, and we're gonna get over here and lay it out. Okay, here's the bed. This looks like more of what I think a bed looks like. Gardening here. This last winter, gardening with naked soil has been really weird. But we were just getting everything set up, and the primary reason I hadn't mulched yet was that I was planning on growing the potatoes, and I grew the potatoes. And I knew I was going to be digging into the soil to get potatoes out. And I will say that that is probably one of the main disadvantages of mulch, is if you're growing anything like potatoes or sweet potatoes, is you kind of need to dig for under the soil, because you don't want to dig mulch into the soil, because it begins to take nitrogen away from down inside the soil. It does a little bit on top, but here in the harsh, dry, hot climate that we have, it's almost, I think that it's almost essential to have mulch down to protect the surface of the soil, to protect from water leaching out too quickly. I just know that when we first started, we didn't have mulch. As soon as we started mulching, it was like everything started taking off. So it seems like it just really needs mulch, at least specifically here. I know with some people, you end up having problems like with slugs, or you can even end up with problems with mildew and things like that. So that is not something that we deal with here. So I mention that because I want you to make sure that before you decide to set your bed up like me, you make sure that this is good for your area. Different areas need different things. Brainstorming what I'm going to plant outside in the bed now. This is 4 of the plants that I can plant currently from the Survival Garden Pack, as far as what I can put out there in May. So these 4 are plants that have an upward structure. So they stand tall in the bed. I know technically I need to stake the eggplant, but still it's a plant that stands tall, and that can provide shade for other plants inside the bed. So any of my plants that I'm hoping to make it through summer, I would like to strategically plant 1 or more of these plants around that plant to try to help support it. You take the plants that can take the heat, that will protect the plants that can't take the heat, and then that's kind of what I look at with plants like this. Here are my vining plants. These are the ones that I look at for trailing along the sides of the beds to help shade the sides, to prevent water loss from the sun hitting the sides of the bed, overheating, evaporation. So this helps protect some of that. This will help keep more water in my beds. And so all of these are vining plants that I can trail along the side as shade. but then also they will yield whatever it is that they're growing. And then just as a note, I do sometimes trail my cucumber on the ground, and it's just fine because it's so dry here. I don't deal with rotting fruits. And so that is something to definitely keep in mind. You might not be able to do this if you still like live in a very moist area, but I can consider cucumber a vining plant that can go on the ground in my area. So just thought I would point that out. It's really important we all know the things about our area, right? So don't try vining your cucumber on the ground if you live somewhere really wet. Here is the plan. Just brainstormed kind of on a scrap piece of paper. And so I've decided I'm going to go with bell peppers, a jalapeno plant, 4 cantaloupe plants, butternut squash here and here. Yes, I know. I laughed too at the BS. You can laugh too. And then those are what I'm going to actually just be planting from the survival garden seeds. I'm trying to prioritize the things that we will most utilize and also things that make sense for the space. If I plant like 1 eggplant or like 1 okra, that's just not very much yield for 1 plant. So it doesn't really make sense to use up the space for that. And then I'm just not going to do these guys this year. I'm just limited right now, right? Because I only have 1 bed. So I have to look at what we're most likely to use. And then I'm also going to be getting some Jamaican sorrel into the ground. That is not a seed from Survival Garden Seeds, but it's very important for me to grow that myself. It's Hibiscus saberidifa, sabdarifa, the plant that hibiscus tea is typically made of. When you purchase that in bulk, it almost always comes with a warning that says may contain peanuts or peanut shells. And so my son's allergic to peanuts, and so it's important for me to grow that myself. And then we are almost out of loofah. So in June, I will be planting loofah. And that's what the L's are. Loofah is fun because it's a crop that you can use as a food crop. You don't have to let it fully form, the loofah. When you pick them young, they're kind of like zucchini. And so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so for now, these are the ones I'm going to be planting from Survival Garden Seeds. And so we're going to go ahead and see how they do. I'm going to get them in the ground. One more thing I'd like to say about these seeds before I go ahead and go get them actually in the ground is that every packet comes with seed-saving information on the back, which I really appreciate. That they're not just about giving you survival seeds, they're about teaching you how to continue to save your own seeds once you've gotten them. The most interesting one was actually the eggplant. It was saying, you know, plant at least 6 for genetic diversity. And there were like all these instructions along with saving eggplant seeds that I had never heard of. And so anyway, just really great information. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go get these actually in the ground. Here is how I plant the seeds in the wood chips. And so basically all you do is you just move them aside, the spot where you want to put the seed. And then you grab your seeds. I usually plant 2 or 3 at a time, and then I'll pinch off the ones that look weaker. We'll save the strongest one. Push the seeds in. For me, it's never any deeper than the size of the seed, if that makes sense. And I just give it a little pat on top. Those plants will come right up through those wood chips and be just fine. I'll just show you again with the jalapenos, and I'm gonna plant right here because these are a lot smaller actually. And so with these, I'll just kind of barely push them in, pat them down, cover them up, and then the wood chips are great because if you're planting your seeds a bit shallow, some of these smaller seeds especially, the wood chips keep the birds from getting at them. hopefully any of that was helpful to you, especially if you're gardening in some harsh conditions maybe that you haven't faced before. I know that there are a lot of people who are dealing with hotter and drier conditions this year than they have ever dealt with before, and hopefully some of these tips can help you if you are in that situation, or if you're gardening in the Phoenix area, hopefully it can give you some ideas on how you can help stuff survive. But overall, I'm just very happy with the way everything has turned out and looking forward to seeing the results with these new seeds that I have. And so definitely check out Survival Garden Seeds. There's a link in the description box below. And yeah, look for garden updates from my tiny little 1-bed garden in the desert now. It's tiny, but hopefully we'll still produce some good things from this tiny little plot. And yeah, I wish you all the best in your gardening adventures. And as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.